Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to our red letter study to the greatest sermon ever preached, where Jesus is really laying into the whole crowd, all of them actually, without exception, even those who call themselves disciples, to make them understand one thing very clearly: their righteousness does not surpass the righteousness of the Pharisees. And when he said that, maybe some felt kind of comfortable until he started to lay into the law and go deeper into it. And that's really what he's doing. He's not adding, but going deeper into the greatness of the law and showing them your righteousness is not better. We have to remember these next couple of sections and the subjects he brings up, it's really to show them, show us, our righteousness is not up to standard to the perfection of God. We need a Savior. But he doesn't just stop there. He also brings certain application to our would-be disciples. He did it last time when he spoke about murder, which starts in the heart, right? It's all about the anger, technically. But then he turned it around and said, if somebody else is angry at you, you need to seek reconciliation with them. Do everything you can to make sure they forgive you. This is the application we can all make as disciples and believers. It's not just about, well, I'm not angry, so I'm okay. No, they are. Make peace, like God, who came down to make peace with evil rebels that we are. Well, now he's going to touch on a subject we might be uncomfortable with, but it's everywhere in the church. And I'm talking about sex. Here's what Jesus says. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. Again, I believe the wording Jesus uses, you have heard it said, is to remind them it should have been passed on from generation to generation, verbally, parents to kids. You've heard it said. It should have been like that. And then he brings up, of course, one of the commandments. Another one, I should say. You shall not commit adultery. And what he's going to do, it's not, again, add to it as much as take more of the law and connect it to it, which would be the first time. When he spoke about murder and then anger, he wasn't bringing other ideas. He's actually taking what's already in the law. In the law, the difference between what it could be called murder and manslaughter was the intention of the heart. Right? It was all through the law. If somebody accidentally killed somebody and he could prove it in court, then that person is not guilty of murder. But on the other sense, if they wanted to hurt them, they were angry at them and they did this, that's murder. Even if it's a momentary anger, it's murder. And all that is found in the law and in a need to bring people to court and judge them. And all that Jesus brings up in that first section, and he'll do it again here. He's going to take more of the law connected to this one law to make it clear. Here's what I mean. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Jesus is not adding something new, as I'm trying to say. And the expression lustful intent is sometimes understood as having fantasies, imagining sexual things with this person. But actually, that's not what this word means. So we have to be careful not to use our modern understanding, fantasies in the hearts and mind, and impose it on the word. Actually, the expression that Jesus uses is the same that speaks of coveting. Like in the law. Like in the very 10 Commandments. Where after he speaks of not committing adultery, God says, do not covet your neighbor's things, including his wife. Jesus is just using that same idea here. It's coveting. You look at a woman, or vice versa, a man, who's not your wife, who's not your husband, and you desire them. That's what the expression means. Is to want and to long and to have them in your life. It doesn't have to be sexual. It can go there. Ultimately, it does. When you want to marry somebody, it's because you want to have sex. It's part of it. But it's not necessarily just about the sexual fantasy part. It's to long after, to covet for, to say my life must be complete with them in it. But they're not my wife. They're not my husband. And I'm already married on top of that. That, Jesus says, is already committing adultery in your heart. It's all about here and the desires of it. So again, It's not about if I did or did not make fantasies in my mind or had sexual desires. It's about wanting somebody who's not your wife or husband. And that will ultimately become adultery in itself. So it's going way deeper than just sexual thoughts. We can't get stuck in just simple rules at the surface level like we tend to do. Right? I've heard it many times. That first glance is okay, but that second glance, it's not about second glance. Or third or fourth, actually. It's about what's going on here. You can take a second glance and just appreciate the person that's right there. And you can have one glance. And that one glance, just, oh man, that's a good looking woman. I want that woman. You are committing adultery in your heart. Yeah, but I didn't have fantasies. But you coveted. And that's something only you and God can know. But it's still something of longing and wanting and passionate, and it's must have. Coveting is wrong and even idolatry, according to Paul, because it's saying, God gave me this, and that's not enough. I want more than this. And coveting is this notion not just wanting something else, but then being satisfied if I don't have it. It's saying I must have it to be happy. That's when you fall into the covenant idolatry part. That's when you come into the adultery part. So again, never righteousness can ever lead us into the kingdom, because who can say I never coveted it? That there was nothing in my heart that said I must have her or him or even this, and if God doesn't give it to me, I pout. Who hasn't been there in their hearts? Then you don't deserve to go to heaven. It's all about, like I said, it's the main theme of all these subjects he brings up. All right, righteousness isn't that good enough. Now he's going to apply it. And we have to be careful how Jesus applies this. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. Why the right eye? Because the right was power. Right hand, or the right hand of God, was his powerful hand. People were mostly right-handed. It was all about power or importance or whatever. But it's not specifically about the right eye. Because as people have pointed out, even if you rip out the right eye, you can still cover with the left one. So it can't be about the one eye. It's just that he's using a metaphor of what's so present and powerful. And it's not just about the eye. I mean, he'll use the hand, and later in Matthew 18, he'll even go with the foot. Because it's not about the body parts. It's about what causes you to sin, or more specifically, to stumble. That's what the word is actually. It's not sin. It's stumbling, or like being captured in a trap. Think of something that, like a speed bump that makes you to fall if you're going too fast and you stumble over it. Think of a trap that captures you and you can't keep going. If there's something that's doing that, you need to throw it out. You need to tear it out, remove it completely from your life. Here's where some tend to make to bring forth what is called radical imputation. Christians, if you need to, get rid of your TV, of your computer, of your phone, whatever you have to do. But that's not the point, though. It's certainly a useful thing. It could be for somebody, but it's not a rule Jesus is laying out. This is far more important, because he says that this throwing away is contrasted with thrown into hell, Gehenna, fire, judgment. This is the contrast. You throw this body part, this stumbling block, out of your life for good, or you get thrown into hell. This is not about Christian life. This is about salvation. It's about life and death in the eternal sense. It's about what's keeping you from turning to the cross to be saved. Whatever you're enjoying or wanting or desiring here on earth that keeps you from turning to Christ. I've witnessed to more people who have said that. I want to become a Christian, but I don't want to give up this. And we want to say, Oh, you don't really have to give it up. That's not salvation. Salvation is just faith. No, it's not. Salvation is also repentance. Here's Jesus saying it right here. Whatever's making you captured and stay here instead of turning to the cross, get rid of it. Because you're going to go to hell. And he continues. He says again with another example. And if your right hand causes you to sin or stumble, cut it off. Rip it completely off. And throw it away. So it is better, it's more profitable that you lose one of your members on something important in your life than your whole body, your whole person goes thrown into hell. This is not just about radical amputation for a Christian. This is, again, life and death. Whatever is keeping you from running to the cross, it makes you fall down and stay down, it needs to go. Anything that keeps you from the cross needs to go. That's the point. Again, there's a sense where if there are things in your life that are slowing you down, see if the Lord leads you to take it away. But don't see this as a fast rule of get rid of your computer. Because that's not what Jesus said. He's talking about your eternal salvation or damnation. I would say that a greater application, actually, than radical amputation, a greater application is if there's anything keeping you from that cross of grace and mercy and forgiveness of Christ did it all, anything like teachers, they keep saying you have to do more and be more on fire and defeat more devils. Anything that gets in the way of that cross of grace where Christ did it all, anything like certain sins that keep you from fully enjoying God's intimacy at the cross, yeah, get rid of it. That will include stuff as in even teachers that might keep you from the cross. Get rid of them. That, I would say, is a good application of what Jesus is saying here to us. But hey, feel free to disagree. Just read the text for yourself and see where Jesus is going with this. There is some serious implications here. And I hope we do take it seriously, dear brothers and sisters. On this note, be blessed.